Hello and welcome. You are listening to On Show, the Louvre Abu Dhabi podcast that takes you on a tour. I am Aisha AlAhmadi, curatorial assistant at Louvre Abu Dhabi. Today, I'm inviting you to discover, or rather rediscover with us, one of the most popular forms of cinema in the world with our new exhibition, Bollywood Superstars, a short story of Indian cinema. With the curators of this exceptional show, Julien Rousseau and Hélène Kessous, we will dive into the rich history and diverse origins of Indian cinema and popular Indian storytelling, unveiling what has now become one of the world's largest film industries and a global phenomenon. Hélène Kessous, Julien Rousseau, it's a pleasure to welcome you at the entrance of our newly opened exhibition, Bollywood Superstars, a short story of Indian cinema. Hélène, can you tell us, what is Bollywood?
What is Bollywood? That's a great question. So Bollywood can be defined by two things. It is a popular cinema from North India. It is in Hindi also, language of North India also. And the name Bollywood is appearing during the 70s. Before that, we would just say Indian cinema or popular Indian cinema. But the word Bollywood is especially coming from the 70s. So if you have to remember what is Bollywood, it is popular cinema from North Indian produced in Bombay. We used to say Bombay, now it's Mumbai, but the B is for Bombay.
Julien, can you tell us how is the exhibition structured?
The exhibition has three main parts. The first section is about the origin of the cinema, the pre-cinema, from shadow puppets to painting of traveling storytellers, which is very connected with the first cinema. And the second part is about the historical movies, where the visitors can see also some important work of arts of the Mughal and Rajput periods. And then we finish with the actors, the Bollywood superstars.
Now we're standing in the first section, which is marked by a deep, warm red. Can you tell us a bit about this color choice?
Yeah, it was very important for us that the spectator, when he entered the exhibition, feel this warm red color that is everywhere in India. We've tried to match as much as possible the color of the Red Fort, for example, the Red Fort in Delhi.
Also the color of the stones, which is used in North India's culture, the red sandstone, for instance. So it's a prominent color also in paintings. And the color, we will say later, is connected with the expression of emotions in different arts in India. It's in painting and also in the cinema, of course. So it's in relation with this dialogue between different kinds of arts.
And Julien, we're starting, as I mentioned at the very beginning, we're at the entrance and we're faced by a transparent curtain with the projection of Kapi Kushi Kapi Gam. And to the left, we see what looks like a gold temple lamp. Can you tell me the relationship between these two artworks?
So we choose this abstract to welcome the visitors. And the movie is really similar with the objects, what we can see all around, with this oil lamp, which is used for the ritual of the light, for the offerings of the gods in Hinduism. And the light is also connected with the view. And we will develop this concept, the importance of the view in Indian arts, in Indian civilization, during all the exhibition, and is of course very important for the cinema, and the first cinema where the first animated images appeared in India and the magic that they can have.
You mentioned the view. Can you talk about the concept of darshan, which is a connecting theme throughout the exhibition space?
Yes, it is actually a main concept for Indian art, I think, and it's very easy to understand for the visitors. And we were thinking that to explain this concept or to introduce this concept will give a very interesting insight of Indian arts, because we can see, for instance, from the first painting, first work of the exhibition, here in front of the movie, a scene of darshan. So the darshan is the exchange of view with an image, a holy image, a king or a holy place, something which has a lot of power, with a visitor, with someone who can exchange the view. And we see here when the Brahman, so the priest of the temple, open the gate and the curtains so that the visitors can see their gods, Krishna.
So our understanding is that it's an act of seeing and being seen.
Yeah, and through this act of seeing, the viewer can get the protection and can get the magic of the image.
And the reciprocity between the two is very important, is at the core of the darshan notion. As you said, seen and be seen.
Now we continue our journey and move ahead. To the right of the curtain, we have a red portable altarpiece, which looks like a small cabinet or a small cupboard with the doors open, showing us 4 folds and figures in all of these folds. Can you tell us, Julien, who are these figures?
These figures are the main characters of the very famous epic, the Ramayana. And this epic was one of the first stories adapted in the cinema because it came from the old Indian art, of course, because this story, when the first directors put them in the screen, they are more than 2,000 years old. They are very ancient stories, and they are still today adapted in TV series and movies. So that's why we wanted to really introduce the cinema with these folk arts and this tradition of storytelling, because the first cinema was also a tradition of storytelling from village to village.
But what is the story of Ramayana? What are the events?
The story of Ramayana is the story of Rama. Rama is an avatar of Vishnu, which means that his avatars means going down. So the god Vishnu is coming on earth in the form of Rama, which is more humanized. And he's coming to fight against the demons and to rescue his wife Sita, who was captured by the demons. So it's actually a story to illustrate how the power of the god restored the universal order.
And if I can add, Rama is a very important character in cinema because he will symbolize the perfect man. He is the perfect prince. So with the cinema becoming something so important in India, even if the movie is not a mythological one, Rama will be a part of the character, the perfect ideal hero.
Because those epics are also considered as drama. So they are very popular because people love the story, the love story between Rama and Sita, action. And so with the war with the demons and the happy end, and all of these are also ingredients for the cinema.
On the other side of the curtain, we're continuing our path, and we see very interesting objects in the center of this space. Julien, can you tell us what these are?
All of these objects are arriving in India before cinema, but they were still used for a long time, even today, like the shadow puppets, for instance, which is really one of the first cinema in India, and also the magic lantern.
Which looks like an old camera, but there's something that's peculiar about it. We have a rail and what looks like a glass sliding section.
Yeah, and you can use it because in this section we wanted to have like interactive objects. So here you can use this magic lantern and experience really how it works. And you can see beautiful designs by a contemporary artist, Gitanjali Rao, who designed this especially for the exhibition. And near this magic lantern, you can also experience the bioscope, which is still used today.
So the bioscope is very interesting because it's still very popular in India. In every fair, you will have someone with a bioscope and you can pay little rupees to watch inside what are the image, and it's changing. Everyone can change the images inside, so it's a real surprise. You never know what you are going to look at, and it's very popular.
We're now moving to the octagonal space, and when we enter, the first thing we see is actually our reflection, creating a kind of infinity room effect. And we see 3 costumes and 3 screens showing dance clips. Hélène, can you tell us what's the effect that you were trying to achieve in this space?
Of course, it was impossible to make an exhibition on Bollywood without talking about the dances. Because maybe no one knows about Bollywood, but everyone knows that in Bollywood, everyone sings and dances all the time. So, even if it's not true, but so we wanted to address the dance importance by this creation. What you are seeing on the screen, it's a creation, it's an editing that a director made specially for the exhibition. And there is too many classical dances in India. We couldn't talk about everything. So we've talked about the ones that are the most important for the cinema. So for example, we have a footage from a Bollywood movie, a Hindi movie, with a dance of Kathak. And we have also a costume of a Kathak dancer. This parallel, we can make it once again with the footage and the two other costumes. We have one footage from South India, so Kollywood movie, the popular movie from the South. And we have a costume of Bharatanatyam, the classical dance of the South.
So we can see the Kathak dress on the left.
Yeah.
It's the green dress. And in the center, we have the more traditional, can you say?
It is more traditional, it's also more folkloric, we can say.
Yes. On the right, we have the green dress that you were just talking about.
And the one in the center is also paired with the footage of a Bollywood movie called Khalnayak. And I hope the spectator will be able to appreciate this wonderful editing because we are inside the dance. I feel like we are inside the dance and we are dancing with the dancers.
And now we're leaving the octagonal space and taking a right to enter the next section of the exhibition. Now we're at the entrance of the second section of the exhibition titled Gods and Princes of the Screen, and we are directly greeted by a change in color palette. Hélène, can you tell us what is happening here?
Yes, it's true. We wanted to change the color palette for many reasons. First, because we needed to be in a different mood. And so we are entering this section, which is with two colors, green and blue. So we have this first green, which is a green with a lot of yellow in it. And we wanted it like that because it is linked to the power of nature. It is linked to a tradition of green in Hinduism. And it is important because we had to separate the two spaces between this part where you will be able to see some lithography from Ravi Varma, and the other part where you will be able to see Mughal art. So for the Mughal art, we have chosen a bright blue, a very nice blue color. In Bollywood movie, when you want to portray Mughal and Islamic rulers, you will always use colors like that, blue, dark green, a different green from the one we use for the other part, and black also. So you have to be in cold colors. And you will see there is a surprise at the end of this room, a bright yellow. This bright yellow is very important because it is to magnify the Rajput art. And we are going back to a warm tone also to make the difference between the Mughal and the Rajput. In Bollywood movies, Rajput are always in warm color like yellow, orange, saffron type of color. And as I said earlier, the Mughal and the Islamic part of India is always depicted with a cold color, once again, blue, dark blue, black, and dark green.
So we've talked about the color palette, the thematic, but what time period are we in? We've just moved from pre-cinema, so to better situate ourselves, where are we?
This section starts with Ravi Varma at the end of the 19th century, and then we switch to historic movies about the Mughal and Rajput periods, which starts around the 17th century.
So we have on our right a big wall with 3 rows of posters, but we're going to leave that behind us and move to the central podium where we have a lithograph of Krishna playing the flute, and it's by Raja Ravi Varma. Can you tell us a bit about who Ravi Varma is, why he was so important for Indian art?
Ravi Varman is really a turning point of history of art in India because he starts as an oil painter, very inspired by Western arts, but he turned into the print image. So he created his own press, and from this Ravi Varma press, he released millions of images that we can still find today. They are still very famous today all around the world. And these images that we often call calendars images were very cheap, and at this time they create new iconography in a dramatic style, and these new images inspired the mythological cinema.
For you to realize it's the first mass media of India. The print, the lithography press, his images were everywhere. You can see on lithography like the one we are standing in front of, but also on advertisement, on calendars, on everything. And what is important, it's always stories from the Indian mythology, and people were very happy to be able to have this calendar at home because they have the portrait of their favorite gods.
And if you look right above us, we have a big suspended screen, and it's playing a black and white film of yet another big name in Indian cinema this time, and it's Dada Saheb Phalke. So what's the relation between the two, and who is Phalke?
So Phalke is considered to be the first Indian director. So he realized the first long feature film, and the relation between the two is very important because Phalke used to work at Ravi Varma Press for 10 years and more. So if you look at the Krishna that you have on the Phalke movie, you will see a lot of inspiration on Ravi Varma work on the big wall with the lithography that we can see on our left. And there is a funny story that we always like to tell everyone. Dada Saheb Phalke was watching a movie from France. It was the life of Jesus Christ. And he was watching this movie in Bombay. And he was fascinated by it. And he was like, if they can do it with their one God, in India we have thousands of gods, so I will have thousands of stories to tell. And that's how the mythological cinema started.
We move around the podium and stand by the projection on the wall. And when we look out into this space, we can see a different typology of artworks. We have a showcase of daggers from Al Sabah collection and Louvre Abu Dhabi collection. We have armors, we have jewelry. So it's all setting the scene for a historical context. Can you tell us about it, Julien?
Yes, indeed. You can see in this section some historical objects from Mughal periods. And you can see all these very impressive daggers and works of arts.
Can you tell us a bit what and when was the Mughal period or the Mughal dynasty?
The Mughal dynasty is famous for, of course, for the Taj Mahal, Akbar, unified kingdom in the 17th century. And he started to commission some work of arts which is, we could say, a globalized art this time because it's inspired by the Italian Renaissance, Chinese arts. He was a collector of European illustrated Bibles, and also, of course, with Persian and Indian arts. So he commissions some work of arts who try to mix a lot of influence from all around the world. And that's why these periods also inspired the cinema because of its great arts, the power of their emperor, the romance also of this emperor, the romance between Shah Jahan and Mumtaz Mahal and the story of the Taj Mahal. And all of this period contains all the ingredients for blockbuster movies.
Can Can you tell us, Hélène, about this connection, the connection between the Mughal period, the Rajput period, and all these objects we see here, to the development of historical films and eventually the blockbusters?
There is many link. Of course, when you see the magnificence of the object, it is in itself a huge cinematographic art. Because when we see even the old movie, the black and white movie you can see on the screen, which is Shiraz, you can see the magnificence of the Mughal art from the inside of the palace. From the inside of the palace and from the jewelry they are wearing, the costume they are wearing. What is very interesting here is that the costumes are not cinematographic costumes, they are real. And so with this movie footage paired with this section, what is very important for us is to see that all these wonderful objects, all these techniques and great art have inspired cinema. Of course, sometimes Bollywood go further. It's even more jewelry, more embroidery, more colors, more everything. But it's, cinema is here to make us dream. So it's normal for Bollywood to go further than that.
We're moving now in between the two podiums and we're stopping at Louvre Abu Dhabi owned armor, which covers the top half of the body, and it has a helmet, and the chest is surrounded by 4 metal plates, also known as the 4 mirrors. Julien, can you tell us more about this piece?
It's one of the great pieces of the exhibition because it's an historic armor, Mughal armor. So it's quite rare to have in the museum collection armor of this period. This armor is also a piece of art, even if it's used for the warfare. But we can also see a nice connection between this design of flower design with the jali, so the screen which are near this armor. And also you can see in some abstract of the movie in the big screen, which is just near the armor.
And if I may add, you will see that there is another armor just in front of this one. It is a Rajput one, because this section we wanted to do one Mughal part, one Rajput part, and not to oppose them, not at all, to make a dialogue between them. And you will see that some type of embroidery, some type of flowers and design are common to the both dynasty.
And so the Louvre Abu Dhabi armor is on the blue podium because it's Mughal. As you said before, the blue was used for the Mughal. And then the Rajput one is in the showcase in the vitrine with the yellow background because that was the color that you wanted to associate with the Rajputs.
Exactly.
And with that, we're going to move to the next section of the exhibition. Now we're entering a yellow cube, which isn't actually a section of the exhibition, but is rather an interlude. Hélène, can you tell us a bit about why it was important to include this section and who it's about?
Yes, so this section is very important because with it we can address the diversity of cinema in India. Bollywood is one of Indian cinemas. We always use it plural form. It's a commercial cinema, it's a popular cinema, but there is different kind of tradition in Indian cinema. So here the interlude is a glimpse of what is an art et essai, auteur cinema in India. And we have it with the most important of its director, Satyajit Ray. And Satyajit Ray is a director from Bengal. So the movies are in Bengali, so it's not the same language as Bollywood, it's another language. And you will see the mood and the way the movie is constructed and the footage are completely different from what you've seen before with the Bollywood footage. Satyajit Ray is also very important because he is introducing a new type of cinema in India. He's heavily influenced by Italian neorealism. For example, his favorite director was Vittorio De Sica, and he used this kind of frame, this kind of temporality in his film to tell Indian stories. And it was the first time that someone did such a film. And that's why also his movie has such a great success in France and, for example, at Cannes Film Festival.
So we leave the bright yellow cube and enter a much darker space dominated with the color blue. And we see at the entrance a ticketing booth framing what is a projection of the movie Sholay. Can you tell us the inspiration behind this space?
So I think this space is my favorite in all of the exhibition, because the inspiration behind is what we call in India single-screen cinemas. So single-screen cinema, they were built mainly during the 70s, and they were inspired by Art Deco art. So that's why you can see this magnificent recreation of a theater inside the exhibition.
We can sit on the dedicated seats or on the floor if you'd like to talk about Sholay. So Hélène, Julien, as we experience this projection, it's the longest extract actually that we have in this space. It's 6 minutes long because we wanted to recreate the feel of a real cinema. So can you tell me why Sholay?
So there is many reasons to pick Sholay for this experience. Maybe the first one is because it's one of the most important films in the 70s. It is one of the first movies that we call directly Bollywood movie. It is born with the word Bollywood during the 70s. There is another name you can use. We use also masala movie. Masala is a mix of spice, and we use this word because popular movie, Bollywood movie, are not one genre. There is everything in it. You have romance, you have drama, you have action, you have everything. And Sholay is very particular because we call it Western curry, because it is like a Sergio Leone movie. It is very different from everything that has been made before also. And I choose also Sholay because it is one of my favorite movies. We have Amitabh Bachchan in this footage. He is young. He is a strong hero that will defend the villagers against the bad guy. So, you know, he is we used to call him the angry young man. He is the one that will fight, and here it's a small village lost somewhere in India. So I specifically choose this footage because it's my favorite part of the movie, actually. I love the music at the beginning. I love the way he's portraying the lonesome cowboy, Indian style. We can see him, he arrived in this village, and the first thing that is happening, he falls in love.
That's very Bollywood.
Exactly. So, you know, from the beginning, you know that there are going to be more than just an action scene. There is love also in this footage. That's why I like it so much, I think.
We're now at the entrance of the final section, which is titled Superstars, Idols of the Silver Screen. And this section is almost half of the exhibition space. Julien, can you tell us the thematic? What are we expecting to see inside?
Yeah, we choose to give great importance of the actors themselves in this exhibition because the phenomenon of the actors and the star system in India is really unique in the world. And also we connect this importance of the characters during all the exhibition. We start with mythological movies, historic characters like big kings, and now in modern India society, the actors themselves are very important. So people love them like nowhere in the world, as we can see in the movies here For the Love of a Man about Rajanikanth, the superstar from South India. And we also wanted to show that phenomenon like an immersive experience, and that was also an idea for the other part of the exhibition, because we didn't want to reduce the cinema to only screens, and we were inspired for the scenography by the movies themselves. So we tried to do this exhibition like a movie itself.
And we see this especially in Section 3, because Section 3 has these massive screens, one which is 8 meters, and you have 2 on the sides, showing clips of movies from the 1970s to the 2010s. Can you tell us, Hélène, about the selection?
So the selection was a nightmare, of course, because I could have chosen hundreds of movies. And because we don't have time, because we had to choose something, I decided to focus on iconic movies that fans may recognize from the first second, and iconic actors, since it was also the focus of the exhibition. So it was very hard for me to select that, because of course there is many films that could have been in the selection. But what was important for me, for example, is to see that some actors are very important during the 70s and still important during the 2000s. Of course, I'm talking about the emperor of cinema, Amitabh Bachchan, for example. You will see also many footage with the king of cinema, Shah Rukh Khan, because he is one of my favorite actors. So it was very emotional for me to do this selection, and I hope it will show a glimpse of Bollywood, and we've tried also with Julien to make sure that there is different kind of Bollywood inside, different type of movie. Some are more historical once again, some are funny. We have a comedy inside, for example. So yes, I have tried to choose different flavors of Bollywood.
I love that the selection for Section 3 and for Sholay was mainly based on your personal preference.
Yeah.
Now that
Not mainly, because everything is iconic. I must insist on that. Everything is, we wanted to focus on the most
important ones, or the easily identified ones for your average Bollywood fan.
Yes, exactly. The one that you will think of immediately.
You'd recognize.
You would appreciate. It's also because very often, if you are a Bollywood fan, you will know the song. So of course, if you want to sing during the last section, it is possible, because all the songs are very well known from the fan. And if you are not a fan, I hope seeing that you will become one.
Now that we're reaching the end of our journey, I'd like to direct this question to both of you, Hélène and Julien. When was the first time you realized, I'm in love with Bollywood?
So for me, it's easy. It was in India. The first time I went in India, I had this idea of Bollywood. I've never seen a Bollywood movie before my first journey in India. It was 20 years ago, actually, exactly 20 years ago. And I was in Delhi, and I decided to go to the cinema. I just went to see anything, I had no idea of what it was, so I asked for one ticket, and I saw Koi Mil Gaya. So it's a movie with the big star Hrithik Roshan. And I was mesmerized by it, actually. It was like I fell in love. With an instant, I fell in love with Bollywood. And when I came back to Paris, I started to watch movies and watch. And 20 years later, I'm still completely in love with this cinema.
Julien, what was your experience with Bollywood?
For me, I have to say that my sister was a big fan of Devdas, and she saw the movie thousands of times. So my first encounter with Bollywood cinema was thanks to my sister. She used to sing the song all the day. And except that, I love Indian cinema because of its relation with India and Indian art. So I was, before working on this exhibition, I was more interested in the connection that can have different kind of folk art, especially with the cinema. And the beginning of the first cinema, I was fascinated by the way that the first movie director tried to make the iconography living through the animated image.
And the same type of love that you both speak about is seen actually in the UAE, because many of us grew up with Bollywood films. Many of us easily and instantly, like you said, Hélène, like you said, Julien, we know these movies, we know Shah Rukh Khan, we know these figures. So it's interesting to see how Bollywood moved outside of India and started to make its way in different parts of the world, especially in this region. And with that, I'd like to thank you both for taking us through this wonderful exhibition.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
This was an episode of On Show, the Louvre Abu Dhabi podcast that takes you on a tour. You can visit the exhibition Bollywood Superstars, a short story of Indian cinema at Louvre Abu Dhabi from the 24th of January to the 4th of June, 2023. To see pictures of some of the artworks discussed in this episode, please visit the Louvre Abu Dhabi website, louvreabudhabi.ae, where you'll find additional resources and programs to learn about the exhibition Bollywood Superstars. On Show is produced by Louvre Abu Dhabi, executive producers Amin Kharshash and Marim Baton. Recording by Amin Kharshash and Richard Hagen. Post-production, music and mixing by Making Waves. Scripting and editing by Marim Baton and myself, Aisha AlAhmadi, your host for this episode. A special thanks to our guests Hélène Kessous and Julien Rousseau for their participation, and the team of France Museums for their support. This episode is also available in Arabic and French on the Louvre Abu Dhabi mobile app and website. If you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to share it with your friends. Thank you for listening and stay tuned for our next episodes.